coming out of the NBA regarding Ja Morant and the suspension handed down from the NBA, and he will be suspended for 25 games, according to our Adrian Wojnarowski. Stephen A., your thoughts on this?
Not surprised at all. I've been saying for weeks that it was going to be about 25 games, and sure enough, that's about right.
Let's talk about some news that's been front and center in the NBA. Let's start with Ja Morant. Because we've seen again another incident here this month. Instagram Live, apparently brandishing a handgun, and so Kenny, you tell me, what would be appropriate punishment?
Well, I think before we get to punishment, Ernie, I think we need to understand the situation and the levity of the situation. A lot of people say, well, you know, what did he do? He flashed a gun. Some people have been saying there, and then other people are saying, hey, this guy is flashing a gun, and that's serious offense. The NBA has a morality clause that in everyone's contract. Let's start there.
Look, I'm fine with the 25 games. I think it's appropriate. You know, you were hearing rumblings about a year or half a season. I thought that would have been excessive. The Players Association just released, you know, a statement saying they think the 25 games is excessive, which is interesting because Ja was like, released the statement as you showed, saying he's going to take these 25 games and make himself a better man. Mm-hmm. Look, he is in a position where he's got to prove it.
Not moving on from the biggest story in the NBA, though, the 25-game suspension of Grizzlies star Ja Morant for conduct detrimental to the league. The NBA announcing that today after his second infraction in 2 months for brandishing a gun on Instagram Live. Mike and Frank have much more on Ja Morant in tonight's PTI bonus topic.
Okay, Frank, did Adam Silver get it right with a 25-game suspension for Ja Morant?
I think they came close. I think 41 would have been appropriate because I think if you go back to March when they suspended him 8 games and Ja Morant got called up to New York and told the commissioner to his face that he was going to change his ways, and he didn't do that. In fact, he told all of us he was going to be different.
Well, isn't this an interesting development? Ja Morant has been suspended for 25 games for his actions. Well, that's it, right? There was an action, then a consequence. Pretty straightforward and cut and dry. Well, not necessarily. Let's dive into the other questions that arise from this. Is the suspension too long? Is the suspension too short? What are the bigger ripple effects that may happen from this? How does it compare to previous suspensions? Without further ado, let's dive into it. Well, whether the suspension is too long or too short ultimately is subjective to you. But let's break it down to understand it better. I think the first point that should be made when dissecting the suspension is that it isn't the first. Back in March, if some of you remember, Ja was also suspended 8 games for another GUN video. This is on top of when he was removed from team activities and the Grizzlies had to make several changes to their team protocol and things like traveling because of Ja's actions. Ja also had several outbursts on Twitter and Instagram leading him to delete his accounts. Basically, to shorten, Ja has had many misconduct instances in the past, so this suspension is a consequence for repeat offenses. The worst part is Ja seems unapologetic. Many people have joked that his apologies seem like they come from ChatGPT. And also, with so many repeating offenses, there were many similarities between his apologies as well. The Insider has a good timeline of things Ja has done if you want to research further. While many different instances of Ja's behavior going awry, the NBA had to take more drastic action than his previous 8 games, especially because the NBA is a business, meaning their priorities lie with one goal: their image and popularity. Even if Ja doesn't serve jail time for weapons because he didn't do anything particularly illegal, he's still, well, I'll just let Daredevil take it from here.
Peter, you may have dodged your legal troubles, but things will get much worse. there is still a court of public opinion.
How did you just do that?
I'm a really good lawyer.
Many have joked about the irony of Ja's actions contrasting the way he grew up. Having a good upbringing in the white suburbs, but proceeding to pretend as if he had it rough. As many have put it, he has not gone from rags to riches, but he insists on trying to make himself go from riches to rags instead. There has been many reported psychological tests or behavior analysis given to Ja based on his desire for self-destruction. But unfortunately, none of these results are public, obviously. Ja also has gotten highly defensive on social media prior to the account's deletion as well, meaning his actions could also be highly likely to a feeling of insecurity and a need to feel cool. Regardless of the reason of why he does it, the fact is, as we said, he's done many actions seen as destructive to both him and his image of the NBA. Regardless of if the NBA cares for Ja, they care about the implications to the league. In all of NBA's responses to Ja's actions, they always include something about how others will react to it, rather than Ja's well-being itself. Just look at this for an example. Adam Silver says, quote, "The potential for other young people to emulate Ja's conduct is particularly concerning." Adam Silver still even says it himself, saying, quote, "It's one based on what we see as the values of the league and what our expectations from other players are in terms of the image we're portraying to our fans." End quote. The NBA has taken this stance multiple times when players do something, including when they suspended Allen Iverson for another GUN-related issue, as well as where the 76ers stated, "The NBA believes it is above the law." The biggest example of this is the Malice of the Palace, in which players were suspended from anywhere from 30 to up to 86 games for attacking fans and comparing the players to thugs. If you're more interested in the Malice at the Palace and its implications, watch my video on it or the documentary on Netflix. But the main point is, afterwards, the league underwent many rule changes to help protect its image. Ja's actions could be the first domino for many more rule changes down the line as well. So with all this information, does the length of the suspension make sense? Well, the lines are a little murky. The league tends to be a little random and inconsistent with how long suspensions are. Some actions tend to be more extreme than others at times, and other times they receive a smaller penalty. Again, there's no consistency. If some of you remember a while back, Miles Bridges was found in no contest of domestic violence of his wife in front of 2 kids. In my personal opinion, this is one of the most obscene and cruel crimes you can do that stays away from the sex side of crimes, especially in front of children. However, the NBA suspended Bridges only for 30 games. With Ja only being suspended for 25 games, the NBA obviously took the stance that Ja's actions are not as bad as Bridges, which I agree. But that's only a 5-game difference. Either make Ja's shorter, or Bridges should have had a much longer suspension to make Bridges seem more severe in comparison. The National Basketball Player Association, or the NBPA, also agrees. In these statements from them that include stating, Ja's sentence was excessive and inappropriate based on past precedents. This is further called into question when comparing to other GUN-related suspensions. ESPN says Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Crittenden were both suspended for the rest of the season in January 2010 after an incident involving GUNs in the Washington Wizards locker room. Arena's suspension 50 games was technically longer than Crittensen's 38 because Arenas had been suspended for 12 games before the then NBA Commissioner David Stern made his official ruling. However, the main reason this suspension is so big was because the GUN was in the locker room, rather than Morant's actions happening outside an NBA facility, aka being a less immediate danger. Allen Iverson, however, was also only suspended for 1 game related to a GUN incident, so Ja lands right in the middle of 50 and 1 with 25. As for the other effects, it's obvious the suspension is going to lead to Ja losing money. As ESPN writes, Morant failed to be voted on the All-NBA team this past season, and therefore lost out on a $39 million contract bonus that would have had that 5-year deal worth more than $230 million. Had Morant not been suspended, he was on a probable track to make that All-Star team, as he had the season before, and it is impossible to calculate lost off-court revenue from the harm to his reputation. 2 of Morant's biggest partners are Powerade and Nike. Powerade in March pulled its ads, while Nike for now is still standing with Ja. As for the Grizzlies, the team honestly is not affected much. The team has done well without him because of their roster and coach. They performed very well last year without Ja, going 11-10 without him. If this ratio stayed the same, we can do the math, and that would mean that the Grizzlies would win about 13 games without Ja. If we take the remaining 57 games in the season and multiply it by their 60% win percentage from this past season and add it to those 13 games, the Grizzlies would win 47 games in the season, which would put them at the 4th seed in relation to the previous season. As for the league itself, there are a lot of unknowns that may come. Once again, suspensions sometimes are only the start for big changes in the NBA. We could see some rule changes coming shortly. This Ja controversy is also caught in the mix of a lot of ref controversy as well as new deals being discussed between the NBA and the NBPA currently. The NBA and NBPA have already had talks about mental health, so something like this doesn't happen again. The league is also looking to expand here shortly. All of these things in combination with each other could lead to some big changes in how the league is conducted in the next short years. How these changes will be made, and if they're good ones or bad ones, is a question for the future. But with that being said, I'll see y'all in the next one. The last few videos I've uploaded have all gotten thousands of views, and we jumped over 100 subs in the past month. So thank you guys so much, and the support is insane. So if y'all like this video, please share it around like the last ones y'all have, and subscribe, and we might hit 1,000 by the end of the year. I'm trying to upload a video at least every week now, and also do the podcast, so there will be plenty of content for you guys coming out for y'all to support. So thank you guys again, and I will see y'all in the next one.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.